Merry Christmas, mother... Hello. Hello, everybody. It's been a while, and yes, if you look at my face, and if you're wondering what the hell are those are chicken pox. Yes. Ya boy was contracted chicken pox. Actually, I contracted chicken pox last December 15th, or wait, no, was it 15th? No, I contracted chicken pox in the day of December 16th, and today it's actually December 24. And if you're wondering, my chicken pox right now is in its healing age. Yeah, kind of, because it's now starting dark. Like in the first few days having chicken pox, I had chicken pox here, but now they're gone. And if you're wondering what are these, those are pimples. Okay, so today I want to come back because it's been a while and it's been like 8 days since I posted a video. Today we're reacting to a video called "What If World War I Really Had Ended by Christmas?" Yes, and today we're coming back to Alternate History Hub. And if you don't know this what if is about, it's actually about I hope it's about the Christmas Truce that happened in World War I in the first year, like 1914. Yeah. Was it? I don't know. It's been a while and I'm kind of rusty. It's been a while since I've learned history, and I hope y'all forgive me for that. Okay, it's been a while, and yes, it's been like 2 weeks now, maybe. But hey, so here we go, guys. Check out Alternate History Hub, and this is "What If World War I Really Had Ended by Christmas?" What's this? Those are cute. Nice. Nice.
This video was sponsored by NordVPN. Find out more after the video. Christmas is a time of giving, of caring, and in the case of World War I in 1914,
A soccer match.
Deadline that came and went. Despite everyone's
soccer match, right? I'm sorry, I'm just going
everyone's best wishes, the war was not over by Christmas. On Christmas night, for a brief few hours on the Western Front, the men put down their arms, carefully walked out into no man's land, and between the two, celebrated Christmas together. It was a temporary truce where both sides came together. Eventually, the generals got word of this fraternization with the enemy, and soon enough, once Christmas came and went, the war continued on. The Christmas truce is so miraculous and wholesome, it wasn't even believed to be true until decades after the war came to an end. For a brief period at the start of the Great War, men on both sides laid down their weapons and learned that they weren't so different from one another. And because of that, it's often thought, what if the war really did indeed end by Christmas? World War I never devolves into that devastating conflict that changed everything. Say, in an alternate timeline, the Great War somehow does simply end, at least on some fronts, by the...
Yeah, Christmas Truce was kind of controversial. The generals didn't like it, and some folks didn't like it, and I know someone in like the German side did not like the Christmas Truce. And if you don't know who that person is, I don't want to say the name, but y'all just search it up.
The winter of 1914. And there's really only two ways for this to actually happen, both incredibly unrealistic. One side actually wins. The Schlieffen Plan goes as planned. Germany pushes back the French, Belgians, and British all the way to Paris, and for the second time in 40 years, captures the capital, humiliating France.
So that quick. Okay, the Schlieffen Plan works. Okay, that would be okay. But we don't know if it could end in December 25th. We don't know. Maybe it ends in the early year of 1915. Maybe this first way. I don't know.
Europe isn't dragged into 4 years of transformative, horrifying modern war. But, of course, you know this leads to a lot of unsettled disputes. Well, an actual Christmas miracle. Men on both sides really do just lay down their arms. The truce expands into a general mutiny as they refuse to fight. It'd resemble how the Russians acted on the Eastern Front in 1917. But instead of this peace being fueled by revolutionary action, it's instead in protest of a pointless war. While the most realistic way for the Great War to end is the Central Powers win in a decisive first blow, I already did a video on that. Spoilers, yeah. France gets very...
Yeah, we reacted to it like in the past, like few weeks ago, or it's been like a month. It's been a while, okay? It's been a while, but we reacted to that. And if he's gonna talk about one side winning easily, like the Axis, no, the Central Powers, are they called the Central Powers? Yes, the Central Powers, because the center, yeah. He already made a video about that, and yeah, and I hope he just makes another one, a new one. Like, I want to know what the Christmas miracle is.
Very mad. Number 2 is far less likely. However, it's the holidays, and especially this holiday season, I think a video about unrealistic peace among enemies would do us a bit of good. And what's more festive than two armies coming together against their incompetent officers and politicians who are only fueled by nationalism and propaganda? So stick with me for a moment. It was impossible for the Christmas Truce to have ended the war, as much as we all hope it would have. This is still 1914 Europe. Nationalism, patriotism, and politics influence everyone just as much as it does today. As for the truce itself, this peace was localized mostly between Brits and Germans. The French and Belgians didn't do much fraternizing, considering the Germans were on their land, but they did lay down their arms temporarily.
For now.
That information said, mutinies did occur, not just in Russia, but also on the Western Front in 1917, after French troops
were... it was a mutiny from French soldiers, yeah, because of the weak management and some folks that some soldiers that doesn't want to fight anymore.
Sick of suicidal attack orders. This
was
after 3 years of war, though, and I doubt it would happen in 1914. If there is a way we have this scenario realistically work, it's that the invaders would need to be the ones to at least lose faith in their cause. A combination of disillusionment with the romanticized version of war and the new trench warfare leads to a restless German army. Since the German invasion was supposed to be constantly on the move, the realities of a stagnant war is devastating for morale. A possible convergence I could see this at is after the First Battle of the Marne, where the German advance was halted and destroyed. A defeat so obvious, even top generals informed the Kaiser that the war was basically lost. For Germany, falling into trench warfare was the worst possible thing that could have happened. In this alternate timeline, the cracks begin to form. German morale in 1914 is low, and at least from upper command, there is less confidence in pursuing another advance into the West. Okay. Now, if you know anything about World War I, you know this is pretty unrealistic.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty unrealistic. I was like, okay, sure,
Any of the factions in the war were pretty self-delusional. So what I'm going to propose is the least plausible scenario of all. Even between a victory early in the war and a soldier mutiny, Germany actually listens to their diplomats more than their generals, and France does too, leading to the most horrific proposition of all, a ceasefire. Alright, I lied. There was a third option at the end of 1914, a compromise ceasefire and peace deal that leads to both sides getting something out of it and saving face. After the Battle of the Marne in this alternate timeline, Germany realizes that a two-front war is just not worth it. The strategy that they use is not one of defeat, but one of dividing up their enemies.
And okay, first of all, if World War I ended in Christmas, ended in Christmas, the the Nazis would not rise up in prominence in Germany. There would still be some fascist political groups in Germany, but they will just be easily taken down because the war ended pretty early. It's the year 1914. The war started in September 1914. Is it? It's been a while since I've learned history. Yeah, it would be a better place. The world would be a better place if this war ended in Christmas. I hope. Not really, because there's gonna be like a lot of political parties divide in the countries around the world. We don't know. Let's see.
Enemies, separate peace deals, to get one side out of the war and keep the pressure off of Germany. And this isn't entirely out of character for them, except for probably admitting that they can't hold two fronts at once. In our timeline, there were peace deals that were offered, attempts were made, by both Germany and the United States. So why didn't it happen? It seems silly, but we're talking about generals and politicians with a 19th century mentality that any concession at all was failure. The Allies feared that if any concession was given to Germany, this would only bolster Prussian militarism. The Central Powers wanted to prove that they were real European powers that couldn't be messed with. But mainly both sides had this idea that they were just within reach of total military victory, and so negotiations were simply not necessary. Every failed offensive, every stalemate, every hundreds of thousands lost in the trenches, all were done because both sides truly thought that it was just one single push that would break the enemy. So really this alternate timeline is just saying they have enough intelligence to realize maybe splitting up their enemies would be a good thing. And also for their enemies to realize maybe some concessions would be fine to take. What terrible concession did Germany offer to France after the Battle of the Marne? We'll leave the Western Front if you simply give us one African colony. Yes, that's it.
That's
the
it.
war could have ended if Germany listened more to their diplomats and France wasn't so keen on holding colonies that they...
Yeah, because in the future of the World War One, there will be a military dictatorship that will be led by General Hindenburg, right? Right? Yeah, General Hindenburg, and there will be General Ludendorff. Yeah, being led by those two. But the only person that I mostly know that led the military dictatorship in the German military is General Hindenburg. And yeah,
they'd lose a few decades later. World War I did not need to be the war to end all wars. It did not need to be the great conflict that it was. And in fact, the naive idea that this war would be over by Christmas isn't actually that insane, because it very well could have, if the mentality of the old men in charge had just slightly changed. This type of peace deal was offered to the Russians.
Oh no. Whoops, sorry about that. I'm going to I'm sorry, just ended there. I accidentally clicked. I'm gonna start recording again. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm very, very sorry. Now, let's go.
But for the scenario, let's just stick with France. Let's say somehow France agrees to German demands. They exchange some African colonial holding, and Germany retreats, and the Western Front goes silent. Among the hardliners, this is considered a disgrace to French prestige, yet I could see the government spinning this as France was able to hold Germany back. Germany can spin it as they were able to get a colony. Britain can spin it as Belgium was defended, and Belgium can spin it as they're not occupied anymore. Yippee. For the Western Front, at least, the war would resemble a
it's like a win-win situation.
19th century skirmish. So the Great War would be more like the Franco-Prussian War, Part 2, than the war to end all wars.
So it might actually be called the Franco-Prussian War 2. Okay.
Get back to the West, but first, the Eastern Front.
Yeah.
Russia didn't win in our timeline, and it certainly wouldn't win with German forces redirected to the east. So would we foresee the same Russian Revolution and rise of the USSR as a result? Yes and no. Russia
Yes
was always
and
on the
no.
brink of revolution even before the war, and had they suffered a humiliating defeat to Germany, this revolution would be inevitable. Yet, without needing to worry about two fronts, Germany doesn't need to resort to desperate measures,
Leftist
as in
instability.
personally sending Lenin back to Russia
Oh,
to
yeah.
create a disruption.
Yeah, they sent back Vladimir Lenin to Russia to start a revolution. To start a revolution. And actually, I actually saw a video made by Oversimplified. It's called The Russian Revolution. If you want me to check it out, comment down below.
So, Lenin doesn't return to Russia in this alternate timeline.
Okay.
Yet, there
So
would
he-
still be a revolution. Just one that installs a pro-socialist government.
So yeah, that means Vladimir Lenin will stay exiled from Russia. Okay.
There is never a hardline Bolshevik state. Austria-Hungary and the Ottomans would survive the war, however I doubt we'd see them survive.
Yeah, me too. I doubt them surviving for another decade because their countries are not stable. They're very unstable, and yeah, and those guys are not the best allies in World War One. Not gonna lie, Germany carried them in World War One, and anyway.
To the end of the century. Speaking of surviving to the end of the century, the German Empire. Even if there would be peace, this isn't a permanent thing, and this war would just be a really small part of the big picture. At least for the Western European empires, the Great War would not have weakened them. In many ways, the Great War was a horrific lesson for empires keen and eager to show the strength of their nation. It led only to the rise of extremism even for their victors.
Is that Franco? I don't know what his name. God dang it. Franco. Is he the dictator of the fascist dictator of Spain? Right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Led to everyone suffering and eventually the collapse of all of them. However, with a quick war, those mentalities we think of as old-timey doesn't actually go away. It'd be simply a quick flare-up, one that granted led to thousands of deaths, but this wouldn't really be that different compared to wars in the 19th century. Don't think that the same culture wouldn't produce another rematch down the line. One positivity is that Nazism certainly wouldn't have rose. However, the war between the European empires and competition for colonies would continue on throughout the 20th century, as weaponry becomes more and more advanced. Before continuing on, let's take a detour to the good old United States. What are they doing? The US would have continued rising as a global power no matter what, albeit a pretty isolated one. Without two critical events, the disillusionment with European empire from World War I and its utter destruction because of World War II, the US doesn't overtake the empires, becoming a superpower. Without the Soviet Union too, without World War I, the politics of the 19th century don't die, but evolve. With the rapid evolution of technology, there is more of an urge to hold on to their territory. Conflicts over Africa or Southeast Asia only become more likely. If there is going to be another global European...
That does make sense. If this happens, there will be more conflicts in Africa, in their colonies, in Southeast Asia. That does make sense.
War in the 19th century, it wouldn't begin in Europe, but in one of their colonies. This alternate 20th century would see
maybe another conflict would start maybe in India or in South Africa, maybe in Australia, or maybe from the French side, maybe in the part of French Algeria, maybe.
See the empires of Europe continue on. This was a system that still had steam left, and the only reason
Congo.
it ended was because they turned on one another. Britain and France continue to aim to stop Prussian militarism. Germany would still aim to prove itself as a world power. It's very unlikely that the war would have ever ended by Christmas, but it wasn't impossible. It was only improbable because politicians, Kaisers, and generals didn't want to give an inch to the enemy for supposed slights against their own temporary image. A war where millions of Europeans died to keep the lines on the map of foreign continents from changing. Cody, that sounds pretty generalized. Yeah, you're right. This video was kind of supposed to talk about more, and I don't know, I felt talking about how generally the world might be could have more of an impact. Show why it couldn't have ended in 1914.
Oh.
But you know what? I only scratched the surface of what a world without really World War I at all would have looked like. So, let's continue this scenario next year. What? Part 2. What? Part 2! Seeing an actual piece in 1914 was practically impossible, but you know what isn't? Bad actors on the internet.
What is
This
it?
video was sponsored by
Okay, anyway, that's the end. And yes, Alternate History Hub has a part 2 of this video. This video was made a year ago. Yeah, there we go. That's the part 2. Anyway, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos like this. It was fantastic to make a video with you guys yet again. I know if you look at my face, it's hard to look at my face right now because of the black spots. But hey, thank goodness my chicken pox is coming near to its end, right? It's now dark spots, and some of them are actually just popped out. And anyway, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Merry Christmas for all of you. I hope you folks have a fantastic Christmas. I'll see you next time. And oh yeah, check out my Facebook. I repost movie clips. I do, yeah. I do, yeah. And actually, in my Facebook, I actually gained 6,800 followers. So I'll try to make a video, try promoting this channel. And if you came from Facebook, hello, this is me. And if you look at my face, yes, I swear this is not really my face. It's just my face with chickenpox. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.